On a cold November morning in 1975, a tragic scene was unfolding on San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. The foggy weather seemed to separate the bridge from another world. Right in the middle of the bridge stood 28-year-old Vietnam veteran Robert Miller. But this wasn't an ordinary stance. The man was leaning toward the edge of the bridge, toward the icy water 67 meters below. In his eyes was the pain of life's last hopes extinguished. In his hands, the trembling that remained from war. In his pocket was his final letter, farewell words written to his wife Susan and daughter Jenny. Nothing held meaning for him anymore. It was early morning, and there were very few vehicles on the bridge. But at that moment, a man who noticed this scene from the window of a black limousine crossing the bridge told his driver to stop. "James, stop. Stop right now." The person who got out of the car was one of the world's most recognizable faces, Muhammad Ali. But no one could predict what would happen that day, because Ali would save a person's life by saying just 5 words. This isn't just a rescue story. This is the story of two souls meeting, two different warriors coming together. This is a story that shows what true strength really means. Robert Miller's story exemplified the tragedy experienced by thousands of Vietnam veterans of that era. In 1970, when he was only 18 years old, he was drafted into the Army and spent the best years of his youth, his young adulthood, in the hell of Southeast Asia. Robert was a small-town kid from Michigan. When he graduated from high school, his dream was to study engineering. But fate had written it differently. When his military draft notice came, he had said, "Serving my country is an honor." What he experienced during 2 years in Vietnam was, in his opinion, indescribable. Losing friends, civilian casualties, night raids. Every day he danced with death. His worst memory was when his closest friend on the team, Danny, stepped on a mine. "Robert, tell my family I love them," he had said with his last breath. That day, a part of Robert died too. When he returned from the war, he couldn't find the America he had left behind. At the airport, there were protesters shouting, "Killer!" People looked at him not as a hero, but like a monster. At job interviews, doors would slam in his face as soon as they saw Vietnam veteran written. "You have experience, but you're not suitable for this job," they would say politely. "You went to protect your country, but your country doesn't want you," he would say to himself every night. He couldn't sleep at nights, couldn't live during the days. In his dreams, Danny's last words echoed, "Sleepless nights ruined his days." His family didn't understand him. Old friends kept their distance. Alcohol had become his only friend. His wife, Susan, had tried to be understanding at first. "Time will pass, Robert. Everything will get better," she would say. But as months passed, Robert's change became more pronounced. "You're not the same as before, Robert," Susan had said in their last fight. "It's like your soul stayed there. I love you, but I can't live with this ghost." And one morning when he woke up, his wife and 4-year-old daughter Jenny had left home. They had only left a note. "Find yourself, Robert. If not for us, then for yourself." So what was Ali doing on the bridge that morning? It was actually a routine day. He was preparing for the Joe Frazier fight in the Philippines, going to the gym in Berkeley for training. Lately, the symptoms of Parkinson's had become more pronounced, and doctors recommended that he exercise regularly. That morning, he was particularly thoughtful. The night before, he had been thinking about the death threats he received for his stance against the Vietnam War. "Maybe they were right," he was saying to himself. "Maybe I'm not a real fighter." His driver, James Patterson, had been working with Ali for 10 years and knew his moods well. That morning he had noticed Ali's silence. "Mr. Ali," James said, "can I ask you something?" "Of course, James." "Do you regret not going to Vietnam?" Ali didn't answer for a long time. Then he took a deep breath. "James, I have regrets, but it doesn't seem like that regret is about going. My regret is that maybe I didn't speak up enough for those kids who went to that war." Just then, as they approached the Golden Gate Bridge, James said, "Mr. Ali, something's happening on the bridge. Do you see the police cars?" When Ali looked up, he saw the crowd, and in the middle of that crowd, a man standing on the edge of the bridge. At that moment, it was as if an alarm in his heart started ringing. "Stop," said Ali. "Stop right now." James was surprised. "But Mr. Ali, you have training. You'll be late. It was your trainer who told you to focus on the Joe Frazier fight." Ali was holding the door handle, watching outside. In his eyes, that familiar determination had appeared, the same look he had when challenging opponents in the ring. "James," said Ali, with no joke in his voice, "some things are more important than fights. Some battles are won not in the ring, but here." And he pointed to his heart. These words showed the essence of Ali's philosophy. He was a fighter outside the ring too, but this time his weapon wasn't his fists, it was his compassion. When Ali got out of the car, the surrounding crowd immediately recognized him. Whispers spread in waves. "Isn't that Muhammad Ali? What's he doing here? Doesn't he have a fight?" But Ali couldn't hear the crowd's voices. His eyes were focused only on Robert. There was something familiar in the man's posture, in his body language, that tragic dignity in the final moments of a fighter who had accepted defeat. Police officers tried to stop Ali. "Mr. Ali, please don't interfere. This situation is very sensitive. Our specialist teams are coming." Police officer Tom Bradley was a big fan of Ali's, but he had to do his job. "Mr. Ali, having someone famous like you here could make the situation even more complicated." Ali turned to the policeman. In his eyes was that familiar determination, the same look he had when facing Joe Frazier, George Foreman, in the ring. "Officer Bradley," said Ali, addressing him by name after reading his badge. "I fought too. My battle is here, not in the ring. That man is alone out there, and I think he needs to feel that someone understands him. But Mr. Ali, if something happens—" "Officer, I'm sure something will happen if I don't intervene. Please, I just want to talk." The officers looked at each other. Faced with Ali's sincerity and determination, they stepped back, and Ali began to walk slowly toward Robert. He was careful with each step, making sure not to make any aggressive moves. Robert could hear footsteps approaching from behind, but didn't turn around. "Let him go," he muttered. "I don't need anyone anymore. It's too late." Ali stopped a few meters behind Robert. He clasped his hands behind his back, which were trembling slightly from Parkinson's. When he began to speak, his voice was very different from that famous roar in the ring. Soft, compassionate, understanding. "Brother," said Ali with no judgment in his voice, "I fought too. A different war, but still a war." When Robert heard these words, his body tensed. Who was this man? Why was he interfering? "What could you know?" said Robert, still not turning around. "You have millions of dollars. Everyone loves you. You've never seen real war." These words hurt Ali, but he didn't show it. Instead, he took another step closer. "You're right," said Ali. "I chose not to go to Vietnam, and I paid the price for that for 4 years. I lost the best years of my career." "You didn't go," said Robert, with both anger and pain in his voice. "I went, and what I saw there, what I experienced, you'll never experience. You didn't see my friends die?" Ali took a deep breath. This conversation was also his own internal reckoning. "You're right," he said again. "I wasn't there. But every night, I think about how many more of your friends might have lived if I hadn't gone. While you were there, I was here, declared a traitor in the eyes of society." The regret in Ali's voice caught Robert's attention. "When Malcolm X called me a fake Muslim," Ali continued, "when I was told to stay a non-political athlete for supporting Martin Luther King, we both carry different wounds from war, brother." Robert became curious for the first time. Who was this man? Very slowly, he turned his head. In front of him wasn't that angry, arrogant Ali he saw in the media. There was just another human being. In his eyes, he could read pain, understanding, and deep compassion. "You're nothing but a show-off athlete," said Robert, but this time there was less aggression in his voice. "Maybe so," said Ali. "But even if I'm a show-off athlete, I have the same nightmares every night. Malcolm's last speech, Martin's last march. You lost your friends in war. I lost my soul here." There was genuine vulnerability in Ali's voice. "Your voice is shaking," said Robert. "Yes," said Ali, showing the Parkinson's tremor in his hands. "This isn't just illness. There's fear, too. Every day when I wake up, I ask myself, who will I be today?" Robert saw the sincerity in Ali's eyes. This man was really suffering. "But you're strong," said Robert. "People love you. You have a purpose." Ali smiled slightly, but this smile was painful. "Strength isn't defeating others, brother. Strength is being able to stand. You stood for 2 years in Vietnam. That requires more strength than my winning 100 fights." Then came that famous moment. Ali took another step toward Robert and said those 5 words, but this time with all his sincerity. "I know how you feel." These words melted the ice in Robert's heart. Since returning from Vietnam, no one had said these words to him. No one had tried to understand him. No one had shared his pain. Everyone had either tried to declare him a hero and forget, or had stayed away. "Really?" asked Robert, the first sparks of hope appearing in his voice. "Really," said Ali, with tears in his eyes. "Every morning I look at myself in the mirror and ask, who was this man? What has he done? What did he do right? What did he do wrong? You lost a part of yourself in war. I lost myself under social pressure." Robert began to move away from the edge of the bridge. For the first time, he was moving to a safe distance. "I know," said Ali. "You lost your friends there. I lost myself here. But we're both still alive. And as long as we live, we can fight. Is the war over? No, but the battlefield has changed." Ali took a deep breath. "You fought for Danny in Vietnam. I fought for civil rights here. We both suffered losses. But the war continues. Only the enemy has changed. Now our enemy is despair." Tears appeared in Robert's eyes. "How do you know about Danny?" "I don't," said Ali. "But every man who fought like you has a Danny, just like I have my Malcolm." Ali extended his hand to Robert. "Come, let's talk. Maybe if we both share this burden, it will feel lighter. Maybe together, we can find a way to honor both your Danny and my Malcolm in a dignified way." Robert saw that hand, the hand that threw one of the world's strongest punches, but was now only offering support, extended trembling, but with care. And he took it. He took a step not toward the bridge below, but toward life. That day, Ali took Robert to a small cafe at nearby Fisherman's Wharf. At a place called Pete's Coffee, they talked for 3 hours. Ali mostly just listened. Robert told about his memories from Vietnam. Danny's story, the terrible moments he experienced when the mine exploded, how no one understood him when he came home. Ali told about social pressure, sacrificing his career, but still believing he had done the right thing. "You know what, Robert?" said Ali in the middle of their conversation. "We were both in different wars. You were in a physical war. I was in an ideological war. But the real war is here." And he pointed to his heart. "Did you ever regret it?" asked Robert. "Every day," said Ali. "But does regret kill us? Or does it make us stronger? That's our choice." Robert smiled for the first time. Danny always used to say, "Robert, if we get out of here, we'll build a life worth living." I guess I owe him that. "And I owe Malcolm," said Ali. "He taught me that being strong isn't about crushing others. Being strong is about lifting up." At the end of the conversation, Ali gave Robert his personal phone number. "Call whenever you have a difficult moment. If I don't answer, I'll call back. I promise." Robert Miller didn't commit suicide after that day. With Ali's support, he went to therapy, received PTSD treatment, and rebuilt his life. 6 months later, he reunited with Susan and Jenny. More importantly, years later, he established a support center for war veterans called Danny's House. The plaque on the center's wall read, "In memory of Muhammad Ali and Danny McCormick, to be strong is to lift up." And every year, on November 23rd, he left a flower on the Golden Gate Bridge to commemorate Ali. After Ali's death in 2016, Robert told reporters, "He didn't preach to me, didn't try to treat me, didn't give me life lessons. He just said, 'I know how you feel.' Those 5 words were a new beginning for me. That day, I learned that real strength is being able to see others' pain. Muhammad Ali's strength wasn't just in his fists. His greatest strength was seeing another person's pain and supporting them by just being there. Do you remember Ali's famous words? 'Service to others is the rent we pay for our room here on earth.' That day on the Golden Gate, Ali paid that rent once again by saving a person's life. And he showed the world that real championship is won in the heart, not in the ring. Sometimes saving a life doesn't require grand gestures. Sometimes just 5 words are enough. I know how you feel.